What is up, everybody? Solomon, super excited to have Venket from Serenity Shield. Obviously, we do these interviews through Genfinity on a consistent basis. Serenity Shield very much so dealing in data sovereignty, bereavement aspects, protection of your own digital assets, as well as educational initiatives and all sorts of things that are going to really broaden out the value and utility into the Web3 ecosystem. So Venket, if we could start by, you providing a little bit of a background of yourself, what got you interested in crypto and Web3, and then also what led you into becoming the CEO at Serenity Shield.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you for having me today. So I'll make it very brief because I want to talk more about Serenity Shield than about me. So I'm from India. I started my career as an IT engineer because I'm a computer engineer. And then I plunged into the corporate world. I traveled across the world. I formed companies, organizations. I did a couple of IPOs, and I also participated in a couple of mergers and acquisitions. So for the last 20 years or so, I have been having a challenging but a rewarding career from the Web2 space, hardly deep diving into corporate banking, finance, IPOs, and M&As, and so on and so forth. However, having said that, in the last 2+ years, I was quite fascinated by the blockchain technology and the immense potential that it has and the stepping stone that it can be towards the next phase of the internet revolution that we are all looking towards, right? So that's why, honestly, I have to be very, very honest here, because unlike others, I did not come into this space as a crypto user. I came into this space purely as a blockchain technology lover and a blockchain technology learner. And that's how I came into this space. And I know Boris, one of the other co-founders of Serenity Shield. I know him for almost 10 years. And with all my corporate background and experience and my in-depth knowledge into this space of blockchain technology and my love to learn it more, that's why he brought me into Serenity Shield with all my whatever background as the CEO. And that's how I am in Serenity Shield today as a CEO.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, 100%. And thank you for the description. So I would love to hear a little bit about, can you describe Serenity Shield's ethos, including what products and services will add to the overall vision of Serenity Shield?
Okay, so Solomon, here I want to give you a bit of a background, even to the Web3 space itself, because that creates a lot of context, right? So with the dominance of the big tech giants over the internet, and the amount of control they have on the private data of its users, that fueled a huge war cry for the concept of decentralization in the first place, right? And we all know what is Web3. Web3 is the new iteration of Web, which comprises of blockchain technology, decentralization, and token economics, right? So under the current scheme of things, data ownership and data monetization, these two crucial things are going to lead to much newer business models within the Web3 space. Having said all that, we all know that the Web3 potential has still not come to even near to its peak, right? It's because of the adoption is still insignificant, and that adoption of the Web3 is still mainly coming from the crypto users. So how do we fix this? This is going to be fixed by creating the right tools, the right solutions, and most importantly, the right infrastructure, which is going to be compatible with both the Web2 and the Web3 users alike, with a seamless onboarding process for the users. That's very crucial as well, right? To sum it up, I will reiterate, a privacy-preserving and data sovereignty-based tools and solutions, they are going to be able to enable us to harness the fullest potential of this Web3 space. That will be an industry which will be running into trillions of dollars in the near future. And having said that, the enhanced user experience is a must for mainstream adoption. So why do I talk all this? Because I'm proud to say that Serenity Shield is in the epicenter of all this, right? Because this is what we just precisely, this is what we do. So, of course, for the sake of audience knowledge, I can explain in a few sentences what is Serenity Shield. Serenity Shield is a decentralized application based upon certain privacy-preserving blockchain technologies, which enables its users to store, restore, retrieve and archive their sensitive digital data with an inbuilt option of inheritance. And StrongBox, which is our DApp, it promotes privacy, security, data sovereignty, and self-custody and ownership of any of your digital assets, right? So that's what Serenity Shield is all about. So based upon the information that I gave you a couple of minutes ago, it's very easy to sort of understand that Serenity Shield as a platform or as a technology is going to provide those kind of tools, those kind of services, and the right ecosystem and the infrastructure to move towards that kind of a massive mass adoption and mainstream adoption. That's why in every of the calls and in every of the Twitter Space panels that we do, I continue to reiterate that Serenity Shield, our goal, our ambition, our vision is for it to become a digital bridge and a digital gateway between the Web 2 and the Web 3 worlds.
100%. And I mean, we talk about transporting users from Web 2 into Web 3, and certainly all the products that you guys are facilitating are going to kind of aid in that onboarding users. If you could touch base on some of the main objectives and goals that will lead you guys from Serenity Shield into onboarding those new users. I know you touched base on the products, but what kind of objectives and goals, really lead you to the next iteration of getting users into Web 3 that Serenity Shield's tackling right now?
Yeah, so let me tell you, Solomon, the 4 pillars of Serenity Shield are privacy, security, compliance, and user onboarding and user experience. These are the 4 pillars that we have in Serenity Shield. And I'll also give you a very brief background of how we are evolving as a project. So when we launched the initial product, it was all about enabling the user to store just his seed phrase in a private and a secure environment with an option for recovery, both personal recovery and a nominee recovery with a designed inheritance protocol. That's how we started the project. Having said that, today we are evolving. We said, why to store only the seed phrase? Why can't it be something else? Right? So that's why we are providing an on-chain, fully encrypted, decentralized storage solution where the user can store any of his digital data, which can be in any format, which could be an audio file, video file, text file, doc file, etc., etc. That's one. And the next stage of evolution that we are targeting is how to bring the businesses into Web 3, right? Because it's just not about bringing personal users from Web 2 to Web 3. That will be incomplete if you don't target to bring the businesses from Web 2 into Web 3, right? So that's where we looked at the area. One of the main things of the business is the data, right? Data storage and data monetization, which is where we looked at the DMSs and the LMSs, which is the data management system and the library management system. Now we are designing an architecture, hopefully which will be launched by next year, where the businesses can store their DMSs and LMSs, which they are storing today in a Google server on their own server. Those DMSs will be enabled to be stored on-chain using Serenity Shield in a completely encrypted and a decentralized manner. And if we are successful in doing that by next year, we will be the first to launch the technology within this blockchain space. So as you can see, and of course, one more thing to add, we are also seriously in the last step to bring a new technology on chain where we'll be creating a private communication service, right? Where the users can interact within a private platform on chain in a completely decentralized manner, which will also be one of the attributes that we'll be adding to our entire ecosystem. So it's very clear we are creating that sort of an infrastructure ecosystem, of course, not forgetting the user experience and the user onboarding, because that is what many of the blockchain projects, they really tend to forget. They just focus on the technology, but they just forget how to enhance the user experience and how to get a user onboarded, right? So we are giving equal importance to the kind of services that we are able to offer, the ecosystem that we are creating, added up with a user onboarding experience, etc., etc. So that creates a complete package to transport the Web 2 into the Web 3 space.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of creating a feedback loop from traditional businesses and kind of, we all know how much, you know, the traditional infrastructure and businesses care about privacy and care about data custody, how important all of those aspects are. But then also, you know, not only the top-down approach, but the bottom-up approach as well, that creates kind of a feedback loop of value within what Serenity Shield is facilitating, which I think is a really kind of a good move forward. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of creating that feedback loop where everything feeds into each other, especially coming down the pike. I mean, we know globally how many CBDC, central bank digital currency initiatives there are currently. You know, how do you envision, you know, Serenity Shield's products and service suite kind of tying into some of these CBDC initiatives potentially moving forward?
Yeah, so of course, you know, CBDC, we all know what's a CBDC. It's a digital format of a fiat currency of a particular country, and that will be pegged at a fixed rate to the original currency of the country, right? So that's all about CBDC. But again, Solomon, I can tell you with a lot of sort of certainty that even if the CBDCs are going to be launched, they are going to face exactly the same problems that the Web3 space is facing today in terms of the mainstream adoption and the mass adoption, right? Because the problems are going to be precisely the same. The general public, they don't even know how to create a wallet. They are not aware about the space. They don't even know how to get into an adoption phase with knowledge and awareness towards privacy and security and so on and so forth. So just because of the central banks of individual countries are going to launch the CBDC doesn't mean that will straight away get you into a mass adoption, right? So that's where projects like Serenity Shield, we will be in the front line. Why? We will be enabling those kind of tools and services and the infrastructure which will support the system to move towards that kind of a mass adoption. Because that's why if you see our entire ecosystem has been created within that sort of a motive and an objective, so we can enable the mass adoption even when CBDCs are coming into play. Right? Because that's why even I'm focusing very much on the onboarding as well. Because let me tell you, some of the key factors that we are focusing on the Web3 onboarding is one is the wallet creation, because we are going to teach the users how to create a wallet, their own wallets, because Serenity Shield doesn't have its own wallet. And we are going to have a 24/7 customer service, right? And we are going, which is unheard of within the blockchain space. A 24/7 customer service for its users is yet to come, because those are all salient features which are coming from the Web2 space, which we are bringing it here, right? And then how to educate the users to pass through the KYC and the AML procedures, and most important, the payment methods, right? Is because today, if somebody wants to come into a Web3 onboarding, many of the projects, they insist that they have to use to get their tokens, etc., etc. And payment methods is a completely new, uncharted territory for the users who want to come into this domain, right? So when we are talking about onboarding, let me tell you, we are going to use the 5 C's of onboarding, which I always keep telling my team. One is compliance. The second one is clarification. Third one is confidence. Fourth one is connection. And fifth one is culture. So we are primarily focusing on these 5 C's of onboarding. So we create that ecosystem and we help the CBDCs to move towards that kind of a mass adoption.
Yeah, and I mean, I would love if you could touch base a little bit more, because I know you guys are really not only focused from the Web3 standpoint and the products and services that you guys are building out, but educational initiatives. If you could touch base a little bit more on those educational initiatives to help onboard into mass adoption, and even maybe, you know, you guys made a pretty interesting partnership maybe 3 or 4 months back to kind of help with those educational initiatives as well. Maybe touch base on how important, because I know you alluded to it a little bit within the last statement, how important is that education to onboard new users into Web3, and what steps is Serenity Shield taking to make sure that education is at the forefront of anything that Serenity Shield is facilitating?
Yeah, so when we talk about the education vertical, Solomon, we have 2 major components to it. One is, of course, as you said, it is extremely important. And that is why I still believe when CBDCs are coming into play, we will be in the front, because educating the common public is very, very critical in this whole process. So one of the components of our education vertical is to create that awareness, educating the general public in terms of adoption, usage of digital assets and digital currencies and so on. And the other component that we have is creating accredited, certified courses for creating full stack blockchain developers and full stack blockchain engineers, because that is also quite critical, because when a particular technology has to grow, the young people, they have to learn it and they have to adopt it within a chartered space. That is when a technology starts to grow. And that's why we chose India as a launch pad for our education vertical, because I can't imagine that there can be a better country than India to launch our education vertical, because now officially India is the most populous country in the world, and a very big percentage of the Indian population is young and vibrant. So by launching the blockchain education vertical with India as a launch pad, obviously we will be moving into other countries as well. We are sowing the seeds of education, hoping that the seeds that we sow today will grow into a culture. It will grow into a civilization to create this blockchain universe, right? So that's why I'm personally interested to do this education vertical, both to educate the general public and also to create some of the most accredited and certified blockchain engineers in the world. And I'm proud that, Serenity Shield will play a tiny, small role, but a significant role going forward, because we will be a part of the legacy to create that evolution of the blockchain universe.
No, that's fantastic. And I know it'd be great if you could give us maybe an update as far as where some of the products are, especially regarding, I know you guys just went through the audit process with, I believe it was Hacken. Can you talk about your experience working with Hacken as auditors, as well as kind of how that audit process shook out and the results of it? It was actually pretty amazing to see, the results from that end, but I would love for you to share that with the audience if you can.
Yeah, but Solomon, I mean, it's always the experience to work with auditing companies, whether it's in the Web 2 or the Web 3 space, the experience will remain the same, right? Because the auditing companies will remain as auditing companies. Of course, it was a very sort of, how can I say, it was challenging experience, so to say, because we had to answer a lot of queries and so on and so on. But of course, the outcome was very good. In terms of the Hacken audit, on the security side, we got 10 out of 10, which is quite impressive. On the overall, we got 9.2 out of 10. And we are not stopping just there. After getting the Hacken audit report, we are just not stopping there. We are going to collaborate with Hacken to create a sort of a bounty program where we will be inviting all the potential hackers to try to hack our codes, and then we will be giving them rewards based upon the type of sort of hacking that they are able to come up with. We have 3 layers of pricing, so they are quite big bounties that we are going to offer. So that means we want to really make sure that virtually our product is technically it's unhackable, right? So that's the kind of product that we would want to. It's just not about, we don't want to sit on the laurels to say that we have got a good hack and report, it's fine. No, we want to go out into the market. We want to let the hackers to try and come and hack our product with 3 levels of bounty. And it's going to be quite an extensive program. And then we want to see the end result only after doing that program.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. I mean, kind of off the cuff here as well. I mean, after you get through that process, through the bounty program, can you maybe touch base on how you guys envision the scaling and the release of the product suite? So it starts obviously with the audit process. You move kind of forward into that bounty program. Is there going to be like a closed alpha and then moving into closed beta and then like full product release? Like, just how do you envision that process going?
No, I mean, it's pretty simple and straightforward, because we are at the last stages, Solomon, because as you know, our MVP was launched somewhere in August of 2022. So we have already come a long way in this. So right now we are in the testnet phase, in the audit phase. After this is completed, we will move to the mainnet. So after we move to the mainnet, we will do further fine tuning, and then we will make the product ready to go to be launched in the market. So I'm envisaging that our final product of the B2C product that we are targeting will be launched to the market sometime by end of June or July. So that's one milestone that we are targeting as a project. And the second milestone that we are targeting is obviously Surge token, which is our native token, which is a utility token, which is native to our project. So we are planning to launch the Surge token, which again, probably the launching will happen in a top tier 1 exchange, maybe not one, we might go for 2 exchanges from that point of view. And that launch of a Surge token is planned to be done either by end of June, if not by September, because obviously July and August will be summer months. So we do not want to list our tokens by a lean period of, let's say, July or August. So our listing in top tier 1 exchange will happen either by end of June or otherwise in September. That's the second milestone. And the third milestone, which I talked about, is the launch of the education vertical, which is our academy. The academy also is going to be launched because right now we are in the process of creating the content, which is going to be quite an impressive and illustrative content, because the kind of accreditations that we are looking at, that is going to come from some of the top most reputed institutes in the world, right? So the quality of the content, the substance of the content, everything is so important. So we have a full-fledged team in India which is creating the content, and our education vertical also is going to be launched sometime around July. So we have 3 major milestones: the launch of the final product to the market, the listing of our token, and the launch of our educational academy.
Yeah, and if you guys could touch base just briefly, I mean, I know you touched on the milestones previously and kind of moving forward, but I always like to try to pull a little bit of alpha out of these interviews if I can. Maybe some partnerships that you guys announced over the past 6 months. You mentioned you're now collaborating with Hack, and if there's anybody else that you'd like to kind of mention that you guys have been collaborating with, and then moving forward, whether it be partnerships or maybe unannounced ecosystems. So which ecosystems are you launching on kind of at first as far as layer 1 blockchains? And then are there other ecosystems that you guys are looking to work with that you might not have announced yet from a layer 1 standpoint?
Yeah, so in terms of the technical integrations, you might be aware already, because we are, in fact, we are integrating or signing an integration agreement with Fedora, which is again, it's a US-based blockchain project. So that is already done. And we are talking to Casper, we are talking to Alab0, serious talks are going on with those kind of projects. So obviously they are all in the pipeline. So, and of course, Hacken we already talked about. So those are all on the pipeline on the technical side. But what is also important, Solomon, is just not on the technical side. I'm also looking at a lot of key partnerships on the B2B2C adoption, right? Because at the end of the day, finally, it will all boil down to the point of the adoption. So we are talking to certain government authorities across the world, right? In terms of both the education vertical and also in terms of how we can be a service provider. And we are also talking to some of the major Web2 companies in the world, where we can, because some of the initiatives that we are going to have is a revenue sharing model. That's a very interesting concept that we'll be coming up with. So we will have a strong and a robust revenue sharing model that will be for our commercial partners. It might be even for our own StrongBox users and our community, and also for our investors. So based upon the revenue sharing model that we are going to come up with, we are looking at a lot of commercial partnerships for B2B2C adoption. And we are also talking to a couple of governments in the world, both on the education side and also on the side of service enabler. So that will give you a broad idea of what we are trying to do, not only on the technical side, but also on the B2B2C adoption side, specifically talking to some governments.
Yeah, and we had the opportunity, you mentioned working with Fedora. We had the opportunity to interview Sam Harrison, who is their CEO down at Consensus, and they have triple masking technology that is pretty much coming out at this point. I think we can say it. And understanding the programmability to where users can either make their transactions totally anonymous or bring them, into the light if need be. I think there's a lot of great synergy between what you guys are doing with Serenity Shield and Fedora. So that's interesting to hear that you guys have that partnership. I would like maybe before we get into links and information so people can go learn more about Serenity Shield, Can you just kind of recap in a broader sense how Serenity Shield is going to play a role in all of our digital futures? Maybe just like a quick recap of just your ethos and how the products are going to play a role, like moving into. We all know that everything is pretty much going digital. Internet of information becomes internet of value. Maybe just give us a little bit of an overview once more.
Yeah, so, Solomon, our entire philosophy, our fundamental core objective is all towards, that's why if you see our tagline is, we will be a key to the digital future, right? That's what Serenity Shield is all about. Because as I explained before, as you also said just now, the whole world is moving towards, a digital universe, right? So it's all about how Serenity Shield is going to be a service enabler, how Serenity Shield is going to create that ecosystem. Just to mention one of the points which I missed out. When we are talking to the technological partners, right, what we are doing is we are talking to all these layer ones because we are creating actually a technological marketplace here. Like as we talked about Fedora, it could be Casper, it could be anybody else, because we will be a proper use case for them. So we are creating here an ecosystem which can be a technological marketplace for our blockchain partners. That is on one side. Even it will be interesting for you to know, we are creating such a technological marketplace even on the educational vertical, which is the first time I'm talking about it, is what are we going to do? We are going to offer all these projects to come and participate in our curriculum as a case study, right? Because that's a very interesting concept, right? Is this because whether it is Fedora or whether it is Casper or whoever, because it's very important that people have to learn the technology, and we are creating the platform for all those technologies to come and create a case study within our curriculum. So we are creating an ecosystem where there's a marketplace for blockchain projects to come and participate even within our education vertical, right? So we are doing everything possible in our capacity to prepare the world to move towards a digital future. And Serenity Shield, I'm sure, is well positioned to be the gateway or some sort of key to the digital future. And I reiterate that again. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate it, Venket. And I would love for you to, so where's the best place for people to go learn more about Serenity Shield? Is it the Twitter? Is it a Discord? Would you recommend people go to, the website? I know that you guys are kind of in process of updating that right now. Where's the best place for people to go to learn a little bit more? I know you guys also host Twitter Spaces. I know you guys join into, Genfinity's Twitter Spaces. So anything you could recommend for people to learn more so they can stay as up to date as possible on Serenity Shield?
Of course, the main thing I would say is it will be Twitter. It will be Twitter, Telegram, Discord. And as you mentioned, our website is under sort of refreshing and rebranding, so to say, because we are trying to make the website more with a human touch, more relatable. So the website will be launched very soon. But as of now, they can very well go to our Twitter, Telegram, and also Discord. And just to add, we are also in the process of creating some more social media platforms like Instagram. Why? Because Instagram is not so popular in the Western world, but Instagram is still very dominant in the Asian side, specifically in India. So we can't just forget those markets, right? So very soon we will be focusing on Instagram as well. So it will be Twitter, Telegram, Discord, Instagram, and those are the kind of social media platforms we would love our patrons and our users to come and visit us.
Well, we really appreciate your time today, Venket. And again, CEO at Serenity Shield, certainly focused on providing the educational initiatives, moving us all forward into our digital futures in Web3, alongside the privacy and the security and the custodial aspects, not only with our unit of account-based assets, but with data. And you can kind of think of all the use cases that can roll into that as well. Venket, really appreciate your time today, sir. And I know you guys are busy, so it's always a pleasure to talk to the Serenity Shield team and look forward to doing another interview here in the near future.
Yes, thank you very much, Solomon. Thank you for having me. And it was great talking to you as always. Thank you very much.